All right, I want you to turn to page 10 in your notebook. And at the top, we're going to write sketch notes. Skills. Now, because I'm using an iPad, my drawings are going to take up a lot more space than what it really would on your notebook. And so you adjust whatever you need to do in your notebook there. But what we're going to start with here is what's called the 5 basic elements. Okay, the 5 basic elements of using sketch notes. And over here on the left-hand side, we're going to put icons, I-C-O-N-S. And these are some shapes that we're going to be using to practice drawing some pictures. But there's 5 basic elements are the square, the circle, and you want to copy this down in your notebook, the triangle, a line, and a dot. And again, you'll have a lot more room in your notebook than what I'm using here on my screen. So if we take these 5 basic elements, we can use them to draw just simple pictures. So for example, if we want to draw a house, okay, here's your basic house. I could add a door. I could add a chimney. I could add some windows. You know, you do whatever works for you. If you are really artistic, go ahead and add some details on your house. Here will be a house. What about a book? Okay, let's go ahead and we could draw a book here. Some lines. Okay, so there's a book, just your basic book. We could do, now I am really not good at this one, but what if we want to draw like a cup of coffee or tea or some kind of hot beverage? So let's see here, I'll do a little oval here and bring this like so, and then I'm going to bring this down. And there's my handle. And then I might just do something like this to show that this is a cup of tea or coffee. Again, you can see I'm not very good at this. But what you're going to find out is it's not about the art. Okay, it is not about the art. It is about the ideas that you want to share in your notebook. We could do a cat. At least the head of a cat. Right, real simple cat. We could do a fish. Maybe some bubbles coming up from its body, its mouth. We could do a piece of pizza. And maybe this is a pepperoni pizza. Okay, so we have a house, we have a book, we've got a cup of tea or coffee, we have a cat, we have a fish, we have some pizza. And again, because my iPad uses a lot more room than what we really will in your notebook, I'm just going to delete this part. I'm going to continue with my icons. We could do a bird. I'll show you my bird here. little triangle for the beak. Again, I probably should have made his head a little bit larger, but that's okay. We could do a clock. 12. You know what? Let me make this a little bit bigger, just again because I'm using this iPad. Let me reduce the size of my pen. There we go. Let's see what we come up with here. So a clock. So you got 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And maybe I got my hands pointing this direction. So there's some of our icons that we could draw. Now, after you have all your icons, let's do some sort of separation. We're going to move on to something else here. That's good. So you could maybe use some, spikes like I have here. I'm just going to shade these in. And then down here, we're going to do letters. And again, let me just erase what I have here. All this will fit on your page 10. Let's see here. So we've got our separation. We did our separation here. We're going to put letters next. L, E, T, T, E, R, S. Letters. Now, let's talk about how you can make some bold text. And we're going to take a look at what's called the two-line system. Okay, two-line. So, for example, if I want to work with this word here, talk, okay, and to do a two-line, to make it a little bit bolder, what you do is, so here's my T, and I draw another line here and another line here. So there's two lines. And then you connect these together, and there's my T. And then my A over here. In fact, now you continue here. I'm gonna move it down here because I don't have any room. So let me do my T here. Now my A, and again, I'm doing mine a lot larger. You do not have to make yours this large. So here's my one line, here's my second line. And then I'm just gonna bring this in like so. There's my A. And then my L, there's my two lines for my L. And then my K, there's a second line, there's a second line, there's a second line. And so then I shade this in here. And there's my two-line system to make it a little bit bolder. Again, I'm going to erase mine, just so I have some room here. And then we have what's called a three-line system. So I'm still going to use the word talk. But now let's take a look at what happens when we use three lines. So if I want to do my T, so there's one line, here's two lines, here's three lines. 1, 2, 3. So you can see we have a much larger and bolder T here. And then my A, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, maybe I want to put this out here a little bit further. And then I've got my A here. And then my L, 1, 2, 3. And then my K, see if I can fit it all on here. 1, 2, 3. Let me do this portion first. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So again, much larger. So we've got the two line and we have the three line method on making some of your letters a lot bolder. Continuing on that page, let's take a look at some shadowing. So if I use my T here, I'm just going to do this here. So here's a T. What if I want to shadow it on the right hand, or excuse me, the left hand side? So there's a little bit of shadow there. There's a shadow there. And then there's a shadow on this side. What if I want to do it on the other side? Again, you know, my letters are ugly. Again, once again, it's not about the art. It's about the ideas. So let's say we've got that, and then we've got this shaded over here. Okay, so some shadowing that can take place there. Now, let's talk about fonts. And again, this should still fit on page 10. If not, you can move it over to page 11. But let's talk about some fonts. You're going to want to incorporate some different fonts. So, for example, maybe if I just do my regular letters that I do when I'm writing, maybe we want to maybe kind of slant them a little bit. Maybe we want to put some little dots at the ends here. There's that. And then an S here. Okay, we've got that one. Maybe we want them to all be capital letters. They could be cursive. You could even do like a bubble. F O N. Again, you can see I'm, and then maybe an S here. No, something like that. So you're going to want to think about some different fonts that you might want to incorporate into your sketch notes. All right, so moving on to page 11. Okay, page 11. Next page. Now let's do people. Now, I wouldn't anticipate that you need to draw a whole bunch of people in this course, but let's take a look at some ways we can actually draw some people. Now for me, you know, I've got my basic stick person here. There's that. Maybe I want to show my stick person maybe running. So here's got my head here, eye, maybe an eyebrow, there's a mouth, and there's my body, there's a leg, there's a leg, arm, and maybe I want to put some lines showing that here she is running. Maybe I've got a happy person here. Again, stick body. And maybe some lines here to show that here she's jumping down, very happy. We can use shapes for bodies. So maybe a rectangle. And then we've got a head here. And then we've got some arms. Maybe some legs here. For girls, maybe we're going to use a rectangle for maybe like a dress. If you want to draw a lot of people without faces, you can kind of do something like this. So we've got our circles representing the heads, and this is going to represent some bodies. And maybe it's kind of like a choir. We've got some people standing in front of that group of individuals. Okay, so it could look something like this. Or you could even draw bodies like this. So there's an arm, legs, another arm, and so on. So there's our people that you want to put on page 11. And then again, yours will not take up the whole page. And let me just erase part of this here. And then some sort of divider to separate our people. And then down here we have what's called patterns. And when I assign you sketch notes, I will tell you what type of template or pattern your information should use. So let me give you an example of some here. So this is called linear. And so if I have a line down the middle, I've got an arrow going this direction. So we have some information going in this direction. We have what's called radial or burst, where we have the main idea here, and then we can move out into some smaller pieces of information. We have what's called vertical, where information is going to go in this direction. We have what's called the path. So it looks something like this. Okay. We have what's called modular. So it might look something like this, where it's set into specific number of groups. We have what's called the skyscraper. So we just put information in groups that look something like this. And then, again, I'm going to erase my people. You continue with, these are still the patterns here. I'm just running out of room, so I'm going to bring it back up here. We have what's called popcorn. Where we have, some pieces of information here that is related to that, is related to that piece of information, is related to that piece of information. So we have some connections there. And there's other patterns out there that you'll be exposed to later on. But I do want you to be aware of what's called the 50-50 rule. And again, this will go down towards the bottom of your page underneath your patterns. And the 50-50 rule simply means that you will need to give me 50% is text or writing, and 50% is pictures or visual. And again, all your pictures will require color. You may want to give text color, but color has to be incorporated into each one of your sketch notes. And so if you have any questions, 10 and 11 in your notebook.